Internon, Thailand. Umpire, Paul Buchan, England. Service judge, Iris Metspalu, Estonia. Court 1.
Year when she won at the age of just 18. World ranking has dropped since the seeding was done. She's now down to number 4 in the world ranking, but she has been as high as number 2. There you can see, well, she's reached one final this year. That was in Seoul, the very first Super Series event of the year, the Korean Super Series. She lost out to Wang Yi-han in that final. Well, her matches so far, she had a tough battle yesterday against the left-hand Sayaka Takahashi. So, well, she's been a big star in badminton already, but my goodness, she was telling us all earlier in the week her aspirations for this tournament and, of course, her aspirations in future as well.
ในระดับหนึ่งอาจจะยังไม่ได้แชมป์หลังจากแชมป์โลกอะค่ะก็ตอนนี้ก็พยายามเก็บอันดับแรงให้ไปอยู่อันดับต้นๆเหมือนเดิมจะพยายามให้อยู่อันดับ1ให้ได้ค่ะแล้วอีกอย่างก็สำหรับรายการซูเปอร์ซีรีส์ก็จะทำให้เต็มที่เพื่อคว้าแชมป์ให้กับคนไทยค่ะมาสิงคโปร์ก็ชอบทั้งคนนะคะคนไม่ว่าเขาก็แบบมีเขาเรียกว่านิสัยก็ถือว่าใช้ได้โอเคเหมือนเป็นกันเองกับคนไทยอะค่ะแล้วก็อีกอย่างก็อาหารอร่อยแล้วก็แหล่งช้อปปิ้งก็น่าเดิน
Well, here, say all of us. It is a wonderful city to be in. And I know that all the players have been enjoying themselves this week. And as Ratchanok was saying, yep, lots of shopping, lots of lovely places to eat. And certainly for Ratchanok Internon, well, I think her country is already very proud of her, whether she becomes world number 1 or not. But it's always good to have those aspirations and those goals to get higher and higher on the world ranking. Well, this is actually the 6th meeting between these two players, and of the previous 5 you can see that Internon has the slight advantage. I can tell you she's won the last 3, including the last meeting at the All England Championships earlier this year. So here we go with the first of our quarterfinals. And talking of aspirations to get higher and higher in world rankings, I'm delighted to say that sitting alongside me is Hans Christian Vitinghus from Denmark, who earlier this week went to a career high of 13 in the men's singles world ranking. Now, looking at this matchup, of course, when you've won a world title, you're expected to win every match. But whether that's your view, I think this could be quite a tough one. What do you think?
It's definitely going to be a very tough task for Ratchanok Internon. It's always difficult to play against the Chinese women's singles, and I think after the World Championships last year in Guangzhou, I think the Chinese girls want to settle something. They have probably studied her game pretty intensely, and we also saw that this Chinese girl, she had a very close fight with Internon in the at the All England. So I think it's going to be very tough, but I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting that you should say that, because after the World Championship final, as you say, in Guangzhou last year, Li Shuirui, the reigning Olympic champion, said in her press conference, well, we've got to learn from this. We've got to step up to the plate. There's many other players in world badminton now achieving and challenging us. And it looks to me as if they really have done that, and as you say, have probably been studying her.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. We saw at the All England, I think they had all 4 semi-final spots in the women's singles, and that really shows that they're trying to learn whenever they defeated the Chinese players, and I think that's one of the things in the game that they do the best of all of us. They really study their opponents if they ever lose a match. It's not that often they lose, but when they do, they really try and learn from it and move forward.
Yeah. Well, all 4 semi-finalists last week, I think, if I remember correctly, at the India Super Series event. Now, for both of these players, this is their first tournament since the All England Championships. Neither of them played last week in Delhi. In fact, this player, Ratchanok Intanon, withdrew from India. She withdrew also from the Swiss Grand Prix Gold. She's had her injury problems. She's had a back injury. I don't know whether you've had a chance to watch her earlier matches, Hans Christian, but I've certainly watched her. I thought she was moving quite freely, and she looked to be moving quite well.
Yeah, I was watching her match yesterday against Takahashi from Japan, and even though she seems like she had a slow start, she actually, after the first 5 or 6 rallies, it seemed like she was moving 100% freely, and I don't think she's struggling with the injury anymore, and I think we're going to see her at her best today.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, me too.
3-4.
That's a lovely shot from Han Li.
Service over. 5-3.
Really a good angle she got on that shot.
Yeah, she seemed to reach up well, didn't she? And just bringing that racket head through over the top of the shuttle, creating the angle and the steepness of shot. Well, anything you can do.
Service over.
This from the round the head position from Internet. But what is it that, I mean, obviously winning a world title at such a young age, she'd been 3 times a former world junior champion. What is it that makes her so special?
I think first of all, for her age, she is very mature as a player. She seems to be very bright and tactical aware of her game and also her opponent's game. And apart from that, I think she also has one of the most dangerous attacks in women's singles. She can really make her own points. She can hit winners from all 4 corners of the court. And you don't see a lot of women's singles players who can do that. And to beat the best Chinese players, especially who makes really few unforced errors, you have to be able to make your own points. And Ratchanok is capable of doing that. And at the same time, when she plays at her best, she doesn't really make a lot of unforced errors. And of course now she just makes.
Yeah, well, you see, you're going to learn about the curse of the commentator.
I heard about that one.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that ability to hit winners from all 4 corners. You know, to me, when I watch her, I understand she made an error there, but you look at that overhead action, or indeed coming forward to the net, and she has this wonderfully relaxed, easy hitting style. And, you know, I wonder if that, in a way, creates some of the deception that allows those to be winners, because, you know, I can immediately look at these 2 players and I can see that Han Li has got a good technique, but she looks more that it's been worked on. her opponent looks so natural.
Yeah, and as you say, that definitely makes it more deceptive. All Ratchanok Internon shots, because sometimes you will be actually caught off guard a little bit because you don't expect anything dangerous to happen, and then all of a sudden she hits a stick smash down the line, or just a difficult smash to the body. Like sometimes you will not expect anything, and then all of a sudden the shuttle is in the floor.
Yeah. I'll just translate your Danish there.
Yeah.
Stick shot is a little fast angled shot that we refer to. I think your expression is better, actually. I think it describes it much better.
I think I've heard some of the English players use it as well, but that's probably due to the influence of the Danish coaches in England.
Yeah. So, into the lead for the first time. After being Love 4 down, reigning world champion nudges into the lead. Now, I can remember many moons ago when I was playing in this tournament, in this wonderful arena here, and there is quite a severe drift. Now, just explain to us, as we look down at the court at the moment, which way is the shuttle going faster? And there's a sideways drift as well, I believe.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge sideways drift as well. When Ratchanok is playing to Han Lee's forehand side, it's a very fast corner because the side wind comes from Han Lee's backhand to her forehand, so it goes from right to left. And Ratchanok Internon is also playing with the wind, so Han Lee's forehand corner is going to be very difficult for her to play with a lot of pressure, because if she hits it very hard to that corner, it will probably fly out.
Yeah.
But she will have a better chance to push her down to the backhand corner. And Han Lee, on the other hand, will have to be very careful to have the right length on her shots, because she's playing against the wind. So
yeah.
Service over. 9-10.
And especially when she's playing to Ratchanok's forehand now, she will have to really hit it with almost everything she's got to be sure that it goes all the way to the right line. But it is definitely one of the most tricky stadiums to play in terms of the draft. It's very, very difficult compared to many of the other arenas we play in.
Yeah.
10 all.
It's very good control of the draft.
Well, it may be one of the more tricky arenas to play in, but it's also one of the nicest. I mean, the whole venue is modern and looks lovely, and I always felt it was tremendous to play here. I always look forward to coming to Singapore.
It's such a beautiful arena, and the crowd here is always very fair. They just appreciate great badminton. It doesn't really matter if you're Chinese or Danish or wherever you come from. They just love good badminton when it's on display.
Well,
11,
to the mid-game interval.
10, interval.
And it is the world champion, Ratchanok Internon, who has the advantage. No advantage, just 1 point in it. And I suppose the big problem is when a player has had injury problems, you know, coming back, there's always question marks in the mind, and therefore the confidence is perhaps not what it was before. Couple that with the pressure that she must feel nowadays that she is world champion and everybody's wanting to knock her off her perch, as it were. That's huge pressure, probably, for the youngster.
That's a lot to handle when you're only 19 years of age. That's
yeah.
for sure. But I think she's handling it so well so far. She actually seems to be very unimpressed with everything. She just seems to enjoy her badminton, and she's always being so polite and mature and calm on court. So you don't really, if you didn't know it, you wouldn't think that she was a world champion. And
yeah, wonderful for our sport.
Definitely.
Service over. 11 all. Yes.
So I noticed just a little earlier you were sitting on the coach's bench with your mixed doubles pair. So with your coach's hat on, which I know you're not really a coach, but now what would you have been saying to Internon in that interval?
12,
because she's obviously,
11.
I get the impression she's struggling with her confidence right now. What would you be advising tactically for her to do?
first of all, I would try to get her to calm down a little bit and just take it easy, because after a bad start, she actually kind of found her rhythm. Even though she's still struggling a little bit, she should be confident enough to believe that when she plays her own game, she has a good chance of winning this one. Apart from that, I would try and get her to dictate the pace a little bit more, so she doesn't give away too much of the initiative to Han Li, because I definitely think that both these players are best when they have the initiative and when they could dictate how the game should be played.
Yeah. Oh, couldn't agree more. In fact,
14,
you know,
11.
I always sort of think, I know this is going to sound all wrong because there's nothing ordinary about Intanon. She's just so good in all departments of the game. But she's just so exciting and so dynamic to watch when she is on the attack and she's taking the initiative, dictating the pace, as you said, that somehow it almost doesn't look right, her defending within the game, although she's perfectly capable of doing so.
Yeah, I think she definitely is, but she should only use it as like her second choice. She should dictate the plays, play offensively, and then whenever she's forced into defense, she should exploit the fact that she can also play defense. But it shouldn't be her first choice or first option to play the more defensive approach. And I have to say now, I don't really understand why she's playing Han Li's forehand side so much.
12.
We've seen Han Li play many winners from that corner so far, and as described before with the draft, it's also a difficult corner for Intanon to play.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
16, 12.
No point challenging that one.
Yeah, that will be a waste of challenges.
Because of course we got Hawkeye here this week. 2 challenges allowed per player or pair per match, unless your challenges are proved correct, in which case, just like tennis, you can keep your challenges.
That's definitely a great improvement from BWF to implement that into the game.
Yeah.
All the players really appreciate that.
Service
that's for
over.
sure.
Yeah.
13, 16.
Well, Ratchanok Intanon, a little lucky, I think, to get away with that point because she was way out of position.
Service over.
Well, there's us
17, 13.
pondering what might have been said to Ratchanok Intanon, but 7 of the 9 points since the mid-game interval have gone to Han Li. So whatever the Chinese coach said to her has worked. Yeah, that's lovely again.
The Chinese
18,
coach is probably a better coach
13.
than me then. I also lost to him the last time I played him. It's Chen Yu from China, former men's singles player. He is a very, very clever player, so I'm sure that he is probably more into the tactical side of this game than I am.
Oh, it's good, isn't it? And I think
19,
that's one of the things we
13.
overlook with the Chinese players. We get so mesmerised in a way about their movement and their capabilities in retrieving shuttles and so on, but they've also got these good skills. I mean, to be able to hit that winner.
Yeah, and she's just been hitting 4 or 5 from her forehand side as well, and then she gets one lift to her around the head and she hits a
Service
perfect
over.
winner.
Yeah.
14, 19.
I definitely think she's one of the more attractive players to watch in terms of her playing style. She's really aggressive at the moment. I'm not that familiar with her before this tournament, but I also saw her play yesterday, and she's really going for her chances, Han Li, and I think that makes the game much more exciting to watch.
Service over.
Well,
20.
here comes
Game point 14.
game point opportunities. Whole host of them. 6 of them. net shot. It's gone wide, and there's the drift coming into play.
First game
21-14, the opening game. And that really is remarkable. 11 of the last 14 points won by the Chinese player.
She's really taken her chances well so far in this game.
Yeah, she certainly has. And all credit to her for doing so. 16 minutes and the opening game, 21-14. Well, certainly not the sort of form that took her to the gold medal at last year's World Championships, Ratchanok Intanon. Well, the ending that you start and that you're playing from does make a big difference in this arena.
Court 1, 20
I think she will
seconds.
be able to apply much more pressure in this second game because she will play against the wind, so she will be able to hit her shots to the back line with more pace, a little harder than she was able to in the first game. And we will see how Han Li will react to that, because she's gonna try and counter it some way.
Level. Play.
Well, just towards the end of that opening game, can I call you HK? That's what most people call you, isn't it?
That's
or,
perfectly fine, yeah. That's my,
or shall I? Hans Christian is more formal, isn't it?
HK is fine by me.
Okay. Well, you were alluding to the fact that you weren't terribly sure about her results in previous tournaments, Han Li. And I think that actually sort of highlights a very interesting thing, because here she is at the age of 26 from Shandong province on the east coast of China. At the age of 26, an awful lot of Chinese women's singles players are thinking of quitting. And we're just beginning to see more and more of her. And that in itself, well, there's the drift coming into play. Shuttle going along that far side, as you predicted it would. But, you know, I look at some of the players she's beaten in the past. She's beaten Sina Newell last year, Sung Ji Hyung, who's, I think, just gone up to number 5 in the world ranking. You know, she's beaten Li Shuirui, the Olympic champion. Okay, that was 3 years ago, before she was Olympic champion. But she's had some very good results. But because there is so much strength in depth with the women's singles squad from China, she probably has difficulty getting selected to go on the trips in the first place.
Yeah, that's it's a very hard position to be in when you're a part of the Chinese women's singles team. They have so many players to choose from. I also remember Liu Xin, who I had never seen before, and then she came to Bitburg Open in Germany and won the whole event, and then we didn't see her for the next few months, because if you belong in just around top 10 in the world, then it might not be good enough for the Chinese coaches, because they just have so many to choose from who can be top 3 or maybe even the best in the world. So the competition is fierce, and she really has to prove herself, and not just one time or 2 times, but she has to do it consistently to be given a full chance, if you can say it that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice net play. Goodness me. Yeah. Well, still looks to me as if Ratchanok Intanon is struggling perhaps to change direction. But let's not take anything away from the capabilities of Han Li. Look at that delightful cross-court net shot.
Yeah, I think Han Li has succeeded in making Ratchanok a little insecure about her in game, actually.
Yeah.
I think if Ratchanok had had a better start, I think she would have felt more comfortable on court. But she had to work for her points right from the beginning, and now she's struggling to find her rhythm.
It's landed in.
Service over. 3-all.
Oh my goodness, that's good.
Service over.
Oh, that's a wonderful example of your steep shot.
4-3.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot, and
Yeah.
it's almost a certain winner every time if
Yeah.
she can hit it like that. I think it's good to see also this Han Li, that she's been given a few more chances lately, and even though she's 26, which would be quite a late age, especially for the Chinese players to be sent out, I think it shows a good commitment from the Chinese coaches that they still want to try and give her a chance to prove herself. And I think we've seen a lot more of that lately in the last few years from the Chinese, that they are very patient about the players. They don't just kick them out if they don't succeed within 1 or 2 years. They're given
5-4.
chances to prove their worth.
Yeah. Well, I was secretly hoping there we might have a challenge. That shuttle bounced off the top of the net and all good.
I think it was a wise decision not to challenge it, though.
Oh, look at that skill again. Yeah. Oh, she's completely dictating the pace, isn't she, Han Li?
4.
She really is. I think Ratchanok is actually trying to change the game in the second game, but Han Li isn't giving it away easily.
Service over. 5-6.
Well, I remember Han Li had a real purple patch at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. She reached the final of 3 consecutive tournaments she played, and then seemed to go a little bit into the wilderness, which I suppose with the Olympic qualifying period, that was a huge influence on which players were being sent to which tournaments.
5.
In the Olympic qualifying year, they seem to be a lot more firm on who they are betting on, the Chinese team, and who they are not.
Well, I just sense that it's very important for Internon to keep close at the moment, score-wise. Yes, nicely played.
That's the third time we see her lifted out the back in that corner. She's having some difficulties adjusting to the draft on this side. She's also well under pressure during that shot.
If you had to estimate, what's the difference with the same power of shot from one end to the other? So, you know, if you're hitting with the drift, is it a metre difference to how you would hit from the other end?
I would say it's just about a meter.
Yeah,
it is.
It's significant, isn't it?
And then the funny thing is that it's sometimes a little bit uneven, so it can be different from each court to the other. We just had that in the mixed doubles I was coaching before, because that was the first time in this tournament they played on court 2. They've been playing on court 3 so far, and the drift was very different. So players also have to be very able to adjust to different conditions, even though it's the same tournament.
Well, I have to say, the last couple of rallies, I've sort of sensed there's been a little more urgency in the style of play from Ratchanok Internon.
Yeah, I think Han Li, she was trying to force that shot right there. I think she's feeling the pressure from Ratchanok upping the pace right now.
Oh, looked to me as if she changed her mind. I thought that was more than just trying to play with deception. Yes, neck shot's so important in singles. It's been absolutely critical in men's singles for years, but I think it's becoming almost equally as important in women's singles as well. Get the tight spinning neck shot, force your opponent to lift and maybe lift short, and that's when you can, oof, my goodness, well taken. I was going to say that's when you could go for your winners, but you know, with the commitment at the net like that from Han Li, that's going to make Ratchanok even more nervous about playing the net shots.
Exactly, that's the most important thing about what she just did there, Han Li. It's of course also a bonus that she won the point, but even if she had missed the kill, it would have been a great investment, because you will definitely see that Ratchanok is a little bit more insecure at the net now if she can play the net again, or if she will have to lift the shuttle.
11-9, interval.
Well, Han Li in the second game with the advantage. Remember, it was Ratchanok Intanon who had a 1-point advantage in the opening game. And after that mid-game interval, in game number 1, Han Li just romped away with that opening game. Now, very interesting that there are now 2 coaches for the Chinese player. Now, one of the more experienced singles coaches from China, there he is, has come to assist.
Court 1, 20 seconds.
This is always
Court 1, 20
a very
seconds.
good thing that I see with China badminton as well, is that the way they bring on players who have just retired and get them involved in the coaching, and then work literally alongside and listen to what the head coach is saying and learn from them. And you know, I think that's something perhaps in Europe. I know in Denmark you have a very good coach education program, but I think it's perhaps something in other countries in Europe we could learn from. Anyway, it is crunch time, I think, as far as Ratchanok Intanon is concerned. Just feels somehow she's got to, the world champion has got to try something different.
Yeah, she definitely has to try and change the game, because as it's going right now, she is she's not going to win. Han Li is feeling too comfortable, and all her attacks are pinpoint accurate at the moment. I think she has to try and force the game and try and make Han Li a little bit insecure, because she's definitely in her comfort zone right now.
Yeah.
And you don't want any Chinese player to be in the comfort zone when you play them, because they are just extremely good when they are in that zone.
Service over. 10-13.
Now, imperative if the world champion wants to progress in this OUE Singapore Open, that she starts to find her form. But quite frankly, her opponent isn't allowing her to.
Not at all. She's taking all her chances at the moment. She's played a really good match so far.
Yeah. Now, the winner of this quarter-final will either play against the number 2 seed, Huang Yi-han, the defending champion, or PV Sindhu from India. And we're going to have the pleasure of seeing that quarter-final later on this afternoon.
Service over.
Now, I have to say, I can't see why there was a logical thought necessarily to play that net shot cross court. You've got your opponent deep into the forehand corner. Presumably the longest distance is obviously from corner at the back diagonally across the court. Try and use the net shot as a way of getting your opponent out of position, and just play the straight net shot. And perhaps maybe some of the decision making at the moment from the world champion, perhaps the pressure.
I think she feels uncomfortable and under pressure, and
yeah,
she's not sure how she's going to turn this around, so that's why she seems a little undecisive in some of her shots.
Yeah. Well, time is running out
11.
because this lady, Han Li, is in tremendous form. Unseeded at this tournament. Lovely angle again. Oh my goodness, oh, that's a real lesson in how to outmaneuver your opponents. And China's Han Li is now 3 points away from knocking out the number 3 seed, the reigning world champion. (18 and 11). Oh my goodness. Oh, go on, challenge.
12,
perhaps
18.
feeling so comfortable in the scoreline. Doesn't want to challenge, but the line judge to me looked a little indecisive.
I think she might not want to break the rhythm of the game right now.
Yeah, very good point. Good net exchange. Not lifting from the net, is she, Han Li? Back to the net again. After those 3 errors when lifting. She's tried to play cross-court again from that forehand side. And once again, making the error into none.
And there's really no reason for playing that cross-court, I should say, because
no,
she doesn't really play herself into a better position by doing so. She actually gives away a great chance to spin at the net for Han Li. So it's just bad decision making.
Yeah. Well, the whole body language of the world champion is of great concern to her fans. We're now match point opportunities for Han Li of China. Well taken, and all credit to the 26-year-old Han Li, unseeded, and she's through to the semi-final. What a victory over the reigning world champion, 21-14, 21-12. And of course, it is disappointing that Intanon wasn't able to produce the sort of form that took her to the world title. But quite simply, in my opinion, she wasn't allowed to produce that sort of form. Outstanding play from this lady, Han Li. She's through to the semi-final, and tomorrow will contest her 3rd Super Series semi-final. 2 last year, Korea and China. Tomorrow it will be her 3rd Super Series semi-final. This is how she defeated the world champion. The attacking play, and there the little hop of delight as she sees the winning shots hit the floor. Well, Intanon still obviously not at her best, but I thought certainly the way she dealt with the draft and the drift in the Singapore Indoor Stadium, Han Li thoroughly deserved that victory. Confirmation of the score, 21-14, 21-12, 34 minutes of play. So, with the first of our quarterfinals completed, we'll be back in just a few minutes with the second men's singles coming up next. So the second of our quarterfinals this afternoon is men's singles. It's Hu Yun from Hong Kong up against Srikanth Kidambi, the rising star of Indian men's singles badminton. So Hu Yun, vastly experienced, and at the age of 32, well, you look back 12 months, he was the number 2 seed. There is the draw of the men's singles from the quarter-final stage, and I can tell you that only 2 seeds left in. Lee Chong Wei, the world number